Back in the primordial time of the late 90s and early 2000s, anime was in a transitional period. On the production end, they were still coming off the OVA high of the 90s, while also transferring to digital color. On the American side, we were still working out localization, translation, or some mix in between. How much context? Should you change the music? Completely change a character? Reasonably, this was all to try and create a good product, or at least a sellable product for the American kids. Remove anything that might confuse them, like Japanese lettering or cultural events. I mean, what American kid knew what an onigiri was in the early aughts? It's not like they could explain it in the show. Or remove things that parents might find objectionable. Excessive violence, sexual themes, alcohol. To this day, it will always be hilarious that they replaced beer with hot sauce in Digimon. Wait a second. They also replaced sake with hot sauce in YuGiOh GX with all the koala dudes' dad's koalas. Why the fuck do I remember this shit? But the biggest thing that they always removed were LGBT relationships. I'm not saying this was good. It was shit. They were just trying not to offend anybody so they could make as big a buck as they could. Don't want people pissing their pants because gay people exist. Looking back at it though, the kids were alright. Nothing was so groundbreaking that children would have their brains coming out of their tear ducts. They could have handled a lot more than they were given. Instead, we got YuGiOh removing death and turning it into the Shadow Realm, or turning real guns into even more dastardly finger guns. Pokemon and its litany of examples like Jelly Donuts, or Digimon and all the added jokes and completely reworked and timeless soundtrack. Some even went out to see the original versions to get that true uncut anime goodness, and thus exposing them to way more hardcore shit. Like me! I loved YuGiOh, so I looked for it online. Lo and behold, I find Season 0. You know, the one where Yami kills people? Good times. Strangely though, Ultimate Muscle, a sequel to a classic Shonen Jump series, Kinnikuman, kept something that reasonably, given their standards, they might want to change. Ultimate Muscle is a show focused on super-powered pro wrestling and everything that entails, including a NWO parody, TLC, and gimmicks. Given the superhero aspect of this, the gimmicks can be a little bit more outlandish. So there are several human-animal hybrid wrestlers. A noted one is, in part, an antelope, called Deek Deek Van Deek. Insert your own penis joke here. Insert. Thankfully, the industry has moved on from that, mostly due to 4Kids crumbling like dust and a heavier focus on an older audience with anime. Now they're so lavish to the material that it can make translation feel off to an English-speaking ear, or ignore some context from the show to make it murky in English, or just not even bother dubbing it and just giving it an American release online. But overall, some improvements.
Once was a man named Gold Roger, who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
My fortune is yours for the taking, but you'll have to find it first. I left everything I own in one piece.
Ah yes, everyone's favorite dub of the classic pirate anime, One Piece. Oh, how can we forget all the amazing changes such as making Sanji's smoking habit into a constant sweet tooth. I mean, he's a chef. I'd imagine that would just make it harder to taste things, but whatever. Or how all the guns were just way too real in the original, so we gotta overlay them with wacky inventions or super soakers. Make the man named Smoker a non-smoker who just has the stuff billowing out of his mouth. Actually, not gonna lie, that is a cool look. Or the thing that they did to Luffy's mouth for some reason. Overall, a good number of these changes can be respectively called odd and silly. This, respectively, can be called dumb shit ideas. They edited it so much that even if they were to continue to produce the localized dub, they would have been kneecapped so many times they wouldn't have kneecaps to speak of. But when I was a kid, I didn't know better. I thought it was fine. I love the imagination in the world presented. Thankfully, that got through to me despite the show's meddling. Looking back, I see how crap some of these choices were. Reading the manga shows how brilliant the diamond they covered in trash was. And yeah, I agree, this localization did do some harm to the brand in America that has taken years to even start to come back from. But at the end of the day, I gotta admit, I still kind of like the pirate rap. Yeah. I know, it's silly. Ridiculous, even. To a level it might be called try hard. To make a show where they were already filing away the edges in the edit, a little bit edgier with the theme song. In truth, it doesn't capture the spirit of adventure and adversity the crew go on in the show, and to some people it might just be an affront to your ears. But then again, I never said I had good taste. Look at me, I listen to ska, vaporwave, Boingo, and a bunch of other goofy shit. My taste will always be in question. But I do think there is some merit in the track. When you say pirates, one of the first things you think of are sea shanties, the songs that the crew would use to time the more timing-sensitive things like pulling ropes up or letting out the sails. They did this to make sure that the crew were all doing it at the same time. Often, they would just have a simple call and response format. The leader would call and the rest would respond while doing the activity they were required. And I just see this in the setup intro to the song, the whole "don't give it up, insert straw hat pirate here." And even in the verse themselves, after a bit of the rap is done, you have the guy going cheddar and ham on a modified yo ho ho. This is pretty solid song structure that could harken to a style of music heavily rooted in pirates. Even the rap itself is in a way refreshing. Now, it's no MF Doom, but it shows an understanding of the form. Just think of how many raps there were in some cartoons before and around the same time. They were all reminiscent not just of early old school rap, but even the more rudimentary rap from the late 70s and the early 80s. Just by the fact that it has some semblance of a flow immediately makes it feel like there was some kind of effort put into it. Effort that is very obvious in the backing track. Something that could have been totally phoned in, yet it's thematically resonant. It hits hard and gets you ready for a bombastic action that's going to take place. And throughout the song there is a subtle string sting evoking the feeling of adventure. Cheesy? Yes, but it does get some of the tone across. This is a goofy story in places, and despite how abbreviated it is, it does try and introduce the world. That, along with the brief character description, gives a person randomly tuning in some frame of reference for the goings-on. Out of context, it's pretty solid, but yeah, to be honest, there is some Limp Bizkit stuff kind of in it. And again, the whole tone thing, man, the original themes were so much better. Why am I defending this? Well, nostalgia. I was a kid in America in the early 2000s. Of course I liked that edgy shit. And no, I never noticed how the show was edited to remove edge. I was dumb. I accepted what was put in front of me for what it was. Same way that Digimon I knew was just Digimon. Same for Pokemon, YuGiOh, Power Rangers, and Dragon Ball Z. Hell, to that point, to this day, American fans still love Rock the Dragon, a product solely of localization. Same for all of their themes. They are classics today, and to me, the 4Kids pirate rap is right up there. No joke, I will go back to it for some hype moments in One Piece, just for a different tone every once in a while. This was my introduction to One Piece, or at least, I'm pretty sure. It may have been one time when I was randomly picked up an issue of Shonen Jump while they were still being printed in America, and flipping to a random section. I have this distinct memory of seeing some of the fight with the Black Cat pirates. Those images are just stuck with me, and to me, they go right in line with the pirate rap. They're interlinked. In the grand line scheme, it's fine. Pretty good for what it was trying to do. The hype track for a simple action-adventure series. The shame is that One Piece isn't just a simple action-adventure series. It's so much more than that. It's world building, it's character arcs, intense action, gray morality in some places. It wasn't the best fit, and it wouldn't have fit for long. One Piece deserved better in America, and thankfully the original openings were more than enough. Classics synonymous with the series itself. But our jolly little pirate rap shouldn't be made a pariah. If anything, it did its job with at least one person. At most, all I can hope for is that it becomes a fondly remembered footnote. So don't give it up.